And now time for something a little different. Hello, my name is George. Welcome to my channel. Today we are looking at a video that's a little different. I'm going to be watching this along with you and then talking over the top at bits and hitting stop and describing what's going on and having a kind of a day in the life of working with me at Middle Farm. It was just a very straightforward session. It was probably one of the best sessions that I've run in a really long time. Shall we get to it? So this is what a typical setup and beginning of day one looks like. A lot of the time is spent trying out things, different drums, different microphone options, different tuning options to get a sense for the scope of the album. It also gives the guys an opportunity to get comfortable with their new surroundings, especially if they've not been there before. It can be quite daunting recording, especially recording an album for the very first time. So as a producer or engineer, you need to be sensitive to that, because although for us it might be our day-to-day, this for them is something really special and can be really unique if you take the time to treat it as such rather than just going with what is stock. So here we're just going through and setting up, moving mics around. Pete came in to help and double check a few things whilst we were going on. And so what will happen is I'll be setting up alongside my assistant, Nathan. So I'll be taking Nathan through the steps. He's still learning. He's someone that I'm teaching and training up. I'll be using this opportunity to slowly get an idea of what the guys' tastes are like for the music and in life itself, what they're listening to, what albums they are stoked about listening to each day, while setting up and changing the setup and introducing things to the setup based upon their tastes collectively. At this point in time, I'm measuring out the hi-hat. I'm doing this, which gives me a rough estimate for how far away I need to be putting the spot mics. I do that per cymbal, and I'm doing it underneath because I get more shell rejection. I think it sounds better. Well, better? I think it sounds as good and it's neater. You have fewer boom arms in the way. So at this point we take the drums one by one into the control room, tune them up, get a really good idea. I'm still teaching Nathan how to tune, or how I like things to be tuned. And then we'll just go through one kit piece at a time whilst we're still dialing in. At this point, I'll be getting the drummer to play comfortably and jam. Based upon what he's playing, I'm going to start changing the desk. I'm going to start tweaking the EQ. I'm going to start changing the way that I'm feeding the equipment in the rack or on the desk, how hot I can push it based upon how the drummer is moving within that space and how the gear collectively is reacting to it. So at this point in time, whilst we're tracking, I'm showing Nathan how I'm setting up Pro Tools and how I'm treating the comps and how to approach comping and how how to interact with bands. This was his first proper drum session. This is his first album of drum recording, and he did great. I did throw him in the deep end actually quite a lot, where I gave him complete control of driving so that I could sit back and take a look at how he responded to that type of pressure and stress, because doing that can be quite stressful for some people, but the process of making a record on your own or on behalf of someone is far more stressful. So based upon how I've tried training and teaching other assistants before, and based upon how they deal with that test informs me as to whether we're going to do well in future. I'm happy to say that he did well enough so that I could let him attend to the comping and keeping an eye on things, and I could be more like a art director. I could just keep an eye on the details. It looks like I also filmed a rundown of the rig, so I'll let past George deal with that. So Nathan is doing a comp with the guys at the moment, so I figured now's probably as good an opportunity as ever to talk you through what's happening in this session. I know this video isn't really about the drums that are happening, but I know that there's a lot of people that really liked the last video that I did, which shared some insights. So I'm going through I'll go through everything that I've done and why, because I figure that's the cool thing to do. So at the moment we've got a Beyerdynamic microphone on the snare top and with a 57 underneath. We are running the MD421s on toms, with the Rhodes again on overheads and octavas for close spot mics. I'm using this really weird small diaphragm condenser for the outside of the kick made by Sony. It sounds great, especially when I'm running it through the desk and applying some EQ with the Electra by Cush Audio. We've got an old AKG D12 inside, which when being slammed and rammed through full of EQ sounds really, really cool. So I'm really stoked on that. We've got a pair of Coles for the room close mics, a pair of U87s for the far, and then we've got another like sort of like an entry-level ribbon by Golden Age for like a smash mic to extend how long the room sounds. Shall we do the thing that we did last time? So this is what it sounds like tracked, raw. Well, I say raw. There's EQ on the desk, but this is the sound, which I'm really stoked about. Specifically really stoked with how these rooms sound by the Coles, and then how the U87s sound like this. But in conjunction together, they sound really cool. They're just different. They're different tones. A really nice way of bringing out the different characters of this room within Middle Farm. Yeah, and everything's running through the Trident desk that's here at Middle Farm, and then also running all of those outputs through the line inputs of the Studer tape machine that's here to just get another level of varnish and weight to the direct signal. So I guess typically calling them raw, as opposed to the Focusrite video where it was just microphones straight into an interface, this is desk raw. There's transformers in the way, there's some EQ going on, there's a lot of weight being added via the amount of transformers that we're hitting. It does accelerate and accentuate a lot of the playing dynamic. For those of you that aren't familiar with working on a desk, or working on a desk and with having access to a tape machine, the difference between desk preamps and then the conversion that comes after via the Ferrofish ADs that exist at Middle Farm and just running into your typical interface, it is very difficult to describe what is happening and what is changing without exact examples. The reason for this is because the change is very small but collectively very large. The reason for this is because what is changing isn't as drastic as what can happen with compression or EQ. It's like varnishing wood. You have to just keep going over with these small amounts of lacquer in order to build up a very 3D look to what is ultimately a 2D medium. So you can make wood feel and look 3D based upon how you treat it, and you can make audio respond in the same way. The approach that I take is the approach of, if I can get as much juice from the desk and from running to more transformers, then I will take that option. It ultimately changes the character in a more interesting way that dictates later down the line the overall tone of the record in, to my opinion, a more interesting way than doing it in a digital format can. The taking away the option to change is important. It makes you stick with your gut and trust yourself, but that takes time to develop. As a result of those developments, this, I think, has been one of the best sessions I've ever run in my career to date.
Oh, how's it sounding?
I think it sounds good.
Yeah, there was, I think 2 takes ago. It was good. Where it was like this. Are these presets right here?
Yeah, those buttons are presets.
That session, the music isn't released yet. We are, as of the making of this video, wrapping up. The final mix is ready to be mastered. The release will happen when the guys are ready. When that release is done, I will add a card. I will put a link in the description. I thought this session was really smooth going, but that takes experience. Yeah. Oh. So this is new format type for me. If you guys like this stuff, all the ambient sounds and music in the background I wrote and composed, and I've added in just because I felt like it needed a tone to keep things moving along and suit the slower pace of the video. If you have questions, by all means ask them. I will answer as many of them as I can. I don't know what other takeaways there are from this video apart from this was a really, really great session and I really loved doing it. And I'm training an assistant, so there's probably going to be more content abuse of me howling at him. Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, that's the video for this week. There you go. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up goes a very long way. If you have a question, leave a comment. If you haven't already, come and join the rest of the crew on Instagram and give me a follow on this username and link. Very obvious as to where I am. Until next time, stay safe and don't be a dick. Cheers.